Hi everybody, this is Kefren, your favorite French Canadian. Today I'm going to show you how to boost your FPS in Hunt Showdown with the new patch. So we're going to start by looking at Windows settings, and after that we will go inside of the game. So now the best setting for Windows for gaming. So first of all, we're going to search for game mode in the search bar. Make sure that game mode is activated for the past year. It's pretty good. You're getting a decent performance, and you're going to make sure that all your resources are focused on the game that you're playing. For the Xbox game bar, I still recommend to deactivate this one, causing stuttering, crashing in some games. So I'm not a huge fan of the Xbox game bar. And for the capture, make sure that the background recording is at off, and also the recorded audio is at off. Another thing that I recommend, it's the hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. Make sure that you're searching for graphics setting. You will need an NVIDIA card, 1000 series or more recent. It will really help with bottlenecks. So if you have a 1050, 1050 Ti, 1060, even the 2060, you can expect a nice 2 to 5% boost. And also you can expect less stuttering when you're using that. So I really recommend to use that. Another thing that is really important, it's your driver. Make sure that you have the latest driver from AMD, NVIDIA, even Intel if you have an iGPU on your processor. So for an example here with AMD, you just click check for update and it's gonna show you if you have the latest one. You can do the same thing with NVIDIA. Another thing that I can recommend with the NVIDIA and AMD, they have an image scaling for the past a couple of months. From AMD, it's called Super Resolution, and for NVIDIA, it's NIS. I have dedicated video who's gonna show you how to use that and how to configure it. But to explain you quickly what it's about, so you need to enable this. So for example, I'm playing in 2K because my monitor is in 2K. I'm going inside of my game. I lower the resolution at 1080p, and the software will scale it back at 2K. And with this process, I can save 15-20% in my FPS. Also, you can do it if you have a 4K monitor and you want to do 1080p or 2K. You can expect a nice boost. The image quality will not be the same if you compare with native, but in some game it's working very well, and it's very tough to see the difference. So I recommend to use it if you're struggling with your FPS. So if you have an NVIDIA card, just go on your NVIDIA setting, go to control panel, open it, go to manage 3D setting, and just use pretty much the setting that I'm currently using. Honestly, they're pretty much default. So the first one that you need to change is your low latency mode. If you have this technology, make sure that it's at on. The other one is if you want to lock your FPS. For an example, you have a 170 Hz monitor and you want to stay in your G-Sync range, you just put your FPS here at something like 167, something like that. You want to be under 170 Hz to always stay in your G-Sync range. So if you want to do that, it will do that for all your game. It's a global setting over there. So I'm gonna unlock it, and this is pretty much it. If you have access to the change ECC state, I recommend to uncheck it. This will slow your VRAM, so you don't want to use that. For change resolution, make sure that you're playing native. So if you have a 2K monitor, go with 2K. If you have a 1080p monitor, go with 1080p. And super important, look at your refresh rate. A lot of people are missing this step. They buy a new screen and by default it's at 60. So use the maximum refresh rate that is available on your monitor. The last parameter will be your G-Sync. So I recommend, if you want to use G-Sync, I recommend to, first of all, you need to enable it, and I recommend to use the enable for window and full screen. So if you're playing a game like in borderless mode, it will be applied. Also, you can select just one display screen depending on whatever. If your second screen is not compatible with G-Sync, you will just push it to one monitor. Me, I'm not using it. I have a 4090 for my GPU, so I just want to unlock my FPS. So in majority of the game, I'm getting 250 FPS, and my monitor refresh rate is at 170 Hz. So I just want to lower my input lag, so that's why I just unlock everything, but it really depends on your situation. So this is pretty much it for NVIDIA. Another thing that I recommend, it's your energy profile. So write energy in your search bar, go to power option. Make sure that you're running something like balance or high performance. On a desktop computer, it should not be an issue, but if you're playing on a laptop, really make sure that you're using that or a special profile for performance from your brand like Asus, Dell, or whatever. The thing is, sometimes when you plug your PC in the wall, unplug, using it with the battery, sometimes it stay at power saver and you don't want to use that when you're playing a game. So super important to be plugged in and also to use a proper performance profile. Another thing that I can recommend, it's the Intelligent Standby List Cleaner. This is a software made by the guy from DDU. It's pretty amazing, honestly. It will help if you don't have a lot of RAM in your PC. So if you have 4 gig of RAM, 8 gig, 12 gig, after that, you should be fine. Windows is doing the job properly. So it will free memory and it's gonna make sure that it optimizes your standby list. So what I recommend normally, it's look at your total memory here. In my case, it's 32. Just divide it by 2. So for me, it's 16. Just press start and it will run automatically. And you just lower the software like that. And you're going to make sure it's optimized. So it's a really good software. And also it helps a little bit with stuttering. So I really recommend to use that. One last thing is I have dedicated video on my channel about overclocking CPU, overclocking GPU, depending on your brand and stuff. And it's pretty good because there are basic overclocking guide. I don't touch voltage, so it's pretty safe. You can expect sometimes 2%, 10% boost in your FPS depending on your thermal, depending on your component. But it's something that you need to look at too if you want to optimize your PC for the best performance. So now let's go inside of the game. So now inside of the game for the 1.13 patch. So first of all, resolution, make sure that you're playing native depending on your monitor. If you have a 2K monitor, 1080p, 4K, whatever, just make sure that you're choosing your native resolution. Window mode, super important. Just play full screen. Don't use all the other mode, causing issue, input lag, stuttering, and stuff like that. So don't use that. Render resolution scale, I recommend to play at 100%, don't go lower. They don't have any upscaling technique right now in the game, so no DLSS, no FSR. I hope they're gonna add it when they are gonna update the engine. Not sure if it's end of the year or next year. For the gamma, I'm using 1.05, question of preference depending on your monitor. So if you feel that you don't see anything in this game, maybe put a little bit higher your gamma. Video memory, I recommend to go with 80%. You want to have an empty space. On my case, on this computer, it's not a huge deal, but on my laptop, I have a 1050 GTX, and it helps a lot. You're gonna make sure that if you're running other stuff on your computer, your Windows, a second screen with a Twitch, it will help to make sure that you don't stutter. Object quality, I recommend to go with low, first one, and a nice 5% boost in your FPS, so better visibility, and also it will help to stabilize your FPS. Texture quality and texture filtering, it really depends on your VRAM. If you have a lot of VRAM, just go high in 16. If you have less than your video memory that show you over there and you're struggling with it, go with medium and put 6x. And if you have like 2 gig of VRAM, just go with low and put 2x anisotropic. For anti-aliasing, I'm not a huge fan in this game. This game is very blurry when you're using it, so I'm going with off. You're getting a nice 6% boost in your FPS. And also a better visibility. I know a lot of people don't like that in this game because you see a lot of like object breaking and stuff like that. Sometimes you can't even think it's an enemy. If you don't like to remove your anti-aliasing, just use the 1x. Lighting quality, go with low. You will have 4% boost in your FPS. Shadow quality is probably the most impactful like settings. If you go high to low, you can expect 12% boost in your FPS, so definitely go with low. I remove my effect quality, all those explosion and stuff like that. If you're getting some crazy drop like 20-25 FPS drop, it's probably because of your effect quality, so disable that. And also disable all the post-process quality in this game. The game looks very blurry when you're using it, so I don't recommend to using that. Particle quality, again, go with low. When you shoot, when you see explosion, if you're getting a crazy drop in your FPS, probably because of your particle quality, so go with low. Performance stat, really the question of preference. You can use basic, you can use a detail. Honestly, look at your ping. Because sometimes people are thinking that they're lagging, but it's because of their computer, but the issue is the ping. Also, make sure that you select a proper server. So if you have, like you live in US East, just select East, don't select East and West. So you really need to make sure that you have a good ping when you're playing this game. After that, I unlock my VSync. So I don't use VSync and I unlock all my FPS. I want the lowest input lag possible. If you don't like those steering line when you're playing without VSync, you can definitely use G-Sync or FreeSync, or you can just use VSync and add a little bit more input lag. So it's a question of preference over there. I'm not using depth of field because, again, you want better visibility in this game and you don't want to use that. Pretty much the same thing with motion blur. You don't want to use motion blur in this game. After that, I recommend to uncheck surface format optimization and toggle GPU tessellation. And for use to pass, honestly, it doesn't change a big thing in your FPS. It's like maybe 1% when you check both. But if you have like a very, very old computer, like 8 years ago with a bad GPU, do some testing. Sometimes I heard like some people can get 3 to 4%, but even on my 1050 GTX, I'm just seeing like 1%. So that's why I stay with those one checked. So this is pretty much it, guys, for my Hunt Showdown guide. If you have any questions, just comment in the YouTube section, post me your rig, CPU, GPU, and RAM. I will try to help you the best that I can. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Peace.